and the images that they look up to, which is like Albert Pike, Madame Elena Blavatsky, Anton LaVey, Aleister Crowley. All these were demons.
And all came out of his own dark spirits that led him. It came from dark rituals that they were all involved in. The spirits are real. The rituals are real. I don't know if you know the nature of these demons. I don't know if you know the nature of these spirits. Let me go over a few of the things, because some of you who listen will feel within you the need to turn this off. The spirits will not want you to hear everything. So many of you have eyes wide shut. They've been shut by a dark Lord, by a dark presence, by something that has invaded your very personality, invaded your very mind. The nature of these dark spirits, number one. Over all the years that we've done exorcism and dealt with them and heard them, yes, I've heard them. They have screamed at me. They have cussed at me. They have spoken in other languages that I never understood. They have said things to me and attacked and threatened and cursed and everything you can think of. They've blasphemed the name of God. Notice something, for many of you Luciferians, they don't blaspheme the name of Buddha. They don't blaspheme the name of Muhammad. They don't blaspheme the name of Quetzalcoatl. They don't blaspheme the name of gods and goddesses. They blaspheme the name of the living God, of the living Christ. They have a hatred. We'll come to that in a few moments, but please understand, if you have these spirits within you, you do not know the dark nature. You do not know the intelligence and the design and the agenda that's really behind them. If you're embracing the dark spirits, conjuring the dark spirits, if they're indwelling the personalities within, if they're indwelling the programming within, then you do not know the real nature of these demonic beings. You've seen a mask, you've seen smoke, and you've seen mirrors of who they may proclaim themselves to be. Yes, in your rituals, they can be powerful. In your rituals where there is no light, in that darkness, in those ancient rituals where there is no light and the black flame burns in your midst, they reign freely. They reign where human hearts have opened and allowed themselves to be completely transmuted. Number one, they stay hidden. They love to stay hidden. They don't want you to know who they are. They don't want you to know their real nature. They don't want you to know their real agenda. They stay hidden. Their agenda stays hidden. Their purpose stays hidden. Their connection stays hidden. And the level of their power, the level of their ability stays hidden. They proclaim themselves something far beyond what they really are. They dazzle you. They show you. They make you feel the lust. They make you feel the energy. They make you feel the power. They stay hidden. They stay hidden. And though you feel you have the light, Mason, though you feel you have a light bearer, Theosophical Society, though the black nobility, those across the nation, even in Bohemian Grove, you call upon Moloch and Rahab, and you call upon the Baals, and you call upon new spirits, ancient ones. They've been around for millennia. They are beyond you. They're beyond your human reason. Keep you alive as living, used, controllable human flesh, as the staging ground, as the bridge, so they can operate not only in, but through. They don't give a damn about you. If they are in you now,
Thank you.
But what about those faiths, the Mormons and the others that you mentioned, believe in Christ? They believe they will meet Christ. What about those like the Jews, the Muslims, who don't believe as
That's
you believe?
in God's hands. I can't be the judge.
You don't judge them?
No. No,
How
I
do you
don't say
feel
you're
when
going to hell and you, oh, I don't.
How do you feel when you see a lot of these strong Christian leaders go on television and say, you are condemned, you will live in hell if you do not accept Jesus Christ? And they are forceful and judgmental.
Well, they have a right to say that, and they are true to a certain extent, but I don't, that's not my calling.
Phoenix, Arizona, hello.
Hello, Larry. You're the best. And thank you, Joel, for your positive messages and your book. I'm wondering, though, why you sidestepped Larry's earlier question about how we get to heaven. The Bible clearly tells us that Jesus is the way, the truth, and the light, and the only way to the Father is through him. That's not really a message of condemnation, but of truth.
Yeah, I would agree with her. I believe that.
So then
That's
a
what
Jew is not going to hell?
No,
You can't.
well, no, here's my thing, Larry, is I can't judge somebody's heart, you know. I don't know. Only God can look at somebody's heart. And so, I don't know. To me, it's not my business to say, you know, this one is or this one isn't. I'm just saying, here's what the Bible teaches, and I want to put my faith in, you know, in Christ. And I think it's wrong when we go around saying, you know, you're not going, because it's not exactly my way. I'm not going to be the God.
You believe your way.
I believe my way. I believe my way with all my heart. But
For someone who doesn't share it,
well,
is wrong, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I look at it like that. I would present my way, but I'm just going to let God be the judge of that. I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
So you make no judgment on anyone?
No, but
How about atheists?
No, I just, you know what? I'm going to let God be the judge of who goes to heaven and hell. And I present the truth. And I say it every week, you know, I believe it's a relationship with Jesus. But you know what? I'm not going to go around telling everybody else. If they don't want to believe that, that's going to be their choice. God's got to look at your own heart. God's got to look at your heart. And only God knows that.
You believe there's a place called heaven?
I believe that. You know, of course I believe in Christ as the Savior and all, but, you know, I think, too, Glenn, I've spent a lot of time in India. You know, I've been with a lot of Hindu people. They're nice, kind, you know, people that love God as well.
The panel has been discussing the spirituality and the forces of God, but I also believe that there are two forces that are here with us, that we do have our God that we can depend on, but there's also a power of darkness that we do need to be aware of. And that's where the choices begin.
Do you believe that you can choose between one or the other?
Most absolute, definitely.
Yeah.
Now,
Marianne Williamson says in her book, Return to Love, that we're always walking in the direction of one or the other, that all of your actions in life, either you're moving toward the darkness or you're moving toward the light.
That's right.
She calls it fear and love. There's this wonderful book called Ishmael by Daniel Quinn, which is, anyway, it's a gorilla talking, but anyway, it talks about, one of the points it brings out is one of the mistakes that human beings make is believing that there is only one way to live. That's and right. That we don't accept that there are diverse ways of being in the world, that there are millions of ways to be a human being.
Please God?
And many ways, but many paths to what you call God. And her path might be something else, and when she gets there, she might call it the light. But her loving and her kindness and her generosity brings her, if it brings her to the same point that it brings you, it doesn't matter whether she called it God along the way or not.
And I guess the danger that could be in that, I mean, it sounds great on the onset, but if you really look at both sides,
there couldn't possibly be just one way. What about Jesus? What about Jesus?
And you say there isn't only one way. There is one way and only one way, and that is through Jesus.
There couldn't possibly be with the millions of people in the world. There couldn't possibly be.
Because you intellectualize it and say there isn't. If you don't believe that, you're all buying into the lie.
But that makes you right. Do you think that if you are somewhere on the planet, if you're somewhere on the planet and you never hear the name of Jesus, you never hear the name of Jesus, but yet you live with a loving heart, you lived as Jesus would have had you to live, you lived for the same purpose that Jesus came to the planet to teach us all, but you are in some remote part of the earth and you never heard the name of Jesus. You cannot get to heaven, you think?
And that is covered in the scriptures, too. People are talked about
Truly, God knows the heart.
Does God care about your heart, or God care about if you call his son Jesus?
Well, you know, Oprah, Jesus cannot come back until that gospel is preached in the four corners of this earth. So, you know, figure it out.
Okay, I can't get into a religious argument with you.
It's not.
On this show, this is what I've been trying to do. It is the secret to creating the life you truly want. Make more money, lose weight, fall in love, land your dream job. Isn't that amazing? This is life-changing.
I'm ready for that, yeah.
Okay, now the choir's going. Jump in, anybody. Find out the secret and see why people everywhere are talking about it. When I heard that for the first time, my eyes watered. Next. Have you heard about it? This is the secret. In the past few months, talk about this DVD has been spreading around the world. We've heard from people in Europe, in Canada, all the way down under in Australia. I have to tell you, in one day, 6 people told me about this DVD. I mean, and I hadn't heard about it when the first person told me. By the time the 6th person told me, I go, okay, I'm going to go home, I'm going to watch it tonight. My guests today believe that once you discover the secret, that you can immediately start creating the life you want, whether it's getting out of debt, whether it's finding a more fulfilling job, even falling in love. They say you can have it all, and in fact, you already hold the power to make that happen. Here's how a woman from Australia stumbled upon what she calls the secret.
I discovered the secret towards the end of 2004, and it was truly the worst time of my life. Everything in my life, just emotionally, physically, financially, everything had fallen apart. My father died suddenly. My mother was just completely grief-stricken. She really didn't want to live. I felt so powerless to help her. I wept and wept and wept, and I didn't want my daughter to see me sobbing. I was just in total despair. And she asked me what was wrong, and I said this and this and this, and she just said, oh, it'll be okay. And then she got a book, and she said, here, Mum, read this. That book was The Science of Getting Rich, written by Wallace Wattles in 1910. Something inside of me had me turn the pages one by one, and I can still remember my tears hitting the pages as I was reading it. It gave me a glimpse of the secret. It was like a flame lit inside of my heart. And with every day since, it's just become a raging fire of wanting to share all of this with the world. I read hundreds of books. I listened to hundreds of hours of audio. I was on the internet in 2.5 weeks. I had traced the secret back through history. Since I discovered the secret, every single moment of my entire life has changed, and I am living my life for the first time.
Which is so fascinating, because when I watched The Secret, I realized I've always lived by the secret. I didn't know it was a secret.
Yes.
I didn't know it was a secret. Why do you call it The Secret?
We really needed to contain the knowledge in a couple of words. And the secret is the law of attraction.
Okay, so what do you mean by that?
The law of attraction I would describe as the most powerful law in the universe. And it is the law by which we are creating our lives. So whether we realize it or not, the law of attraction is working all of the time. Now, clearly, if you don't know what the law does, then you may not be creating the life you want. Law of attraction says that like attracts like, and what we do is we attract into our lives the things that we want, and that is based on what we're thinking and feeling. Okay. It's not the other.
Babe, this is it.
This is it.
This is it.
You put it out into, I mean, I believe in that. You put it out into the universe, and then it came back,
I know.
and you got cast.
I know. It's crazy.
You've been signing your name as Champ 2011. How did that come about?
You know, I believe in the law of attraction, and I believe that that you can speak things into existence, and I believe that when you know where you're going and you know what you want, the universe has a way of stepping aside for you.
I think that with me,
visualizing became a normal thing. And I never really knew that I had really a very special ability to visualize and to connect the dots, to say to myself, well, if I can see it, then it must be a reality, and I can make it a reality.
So what's a life lesson, whether that's in regards to music or personally, that you would want to pass along to your fans?
I guess my life lesson is, and first taught me this, you gotta, if you want to achieve something, or if you want to do something, you gotta speak it into existence. So like, say you want a car, or you want something, or you want to be successful or whatever, just keep talking about it. You know what I mean? Just keep on believing in yourself and say, you know what, I'm gonna do this.
I have so many affirmations that I do. And I've done affirmations for a long, long time. I believe that how you think, and I teach my kids this, your thoughts create your life. And so you have to think positive thoughts all the time. You have to force yourself to think positive thoughts at times. And so I do a lot of different affirmations. I'm open and receptive to all the goodness and abundance the universe has to offer.
Your acting career, do you feel like you've manifested, or there was a vision or a focus, or is it more just like this was naturally what you were into and it grew? Where did that come from?
I do believe in manifesting, actually. I really do.
I actually worked with Tom Holland when I did this movie called The Lost City of Z years ago, and he was, I think he hadn't even been cast as Spider-Man, and he was wearing a Spider-Man outfit when I was shooting that movie.
But why?
And I was like, he really manifested that part.
It's sort of like a mantra. It's kind of, you repeat it to yourself every day. Music is my life. Music is my life. The fame is inside of me. I'm going to make a #1 record and with #1 hits. And it's not yet. It's a lie. You're saying a lie over and over and over again. And then one day, the lie is true.
I want to represent possibilities. I want to represent the idea that you really can make what you want. One of my favorite books is The Alchemist.
Practices until I was in my teenage years. And that was around the time, like the late 80s, early 90s, when you had the explosion of neo-paganism and Wicca and all these books marketed towards what they now call twitches, like teenage witches. And you would find these, but you would find them, and you started seeing them everywhere, like Barnes and Noble and Borders Books and all this sort of stuff. So that's when I actually started coming in contact with the practices, the rituals. But even those things, and then it happened again in 2000. In the early 2000s, you had another explosion, like a Oprah Winfrey explosion, with things like The Secret and all that sort of stuff. It was kind of in the same vein. All of these things were like really, really watered down ceremonial magic. But what kind of, I don't know, it was like it didn't scratch an itch. All this stuff was focused on manifestation in some way or another. Whether it was, manifesting the career you wanted, or the relationship you wanted, or even a parking spot in a crowded parking lot, whatever the it was all about some sort of materialistic manifestation process. And I thought that's a pretty shallow thing to base like a spiritual practice on. It was only after I was in prison in my early 20s that I discovered what ceremonial magic really was. A lot of people still to this day think it's only about manifestation. It's not a religion. Ceremonial magic, the branch that I practice, was sort of refined by this organization called the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn in London in the late 1800s. And their motto was the aim of religion, but the method of science. And what they wanted to do was comb through all the different spiritual traditions in the world, from Gnostic Christianity and esoteric Judaism, Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism. They wanted to get to the core of the practices, not the dogma, not the beliefs, but the actual practices, the visualization, the breath work, the vibrations. They wanted to find what worked, how it worked, why it worked, and how they could make it work better.
While those who practice this modern form of the secret or manifesting or the law of attraction, most are unaware of the sinister foundation it is built upon. You may hear a celebrity say something like,
sometimes you just have to work and write and create even when you don't feel particularly inspired, because I think when you continuously show up, you show the universe that you are capable of bringing this idea to life and manifesting it in the way that it's supposed to be manifested. And like spiritual in that way, where I think that the universe pays attention to that and then will give you better ideas.
I play because I love the game and I'm fiercely competitive. And when I step on that field, I expect greatness from myself and my teammates. And I believe in the power of manifestation, the desires of your heart into reality. And first you got to believe it. So we first got to believe we can do it and make the run. And then once we start believing and start playing the right way, then you see everybody else like yourself start believing. You won't be saying like, what if it doesn't go right? And then when everybody else is believing in the city, then there's a never-ending, unstoppable wave of positivity and energy that we're going to take all the way to the end.
Yeah, and I also feel often that that things that I repetitively think about or say, I'm able to manifest. Like, you know, this house, for example, I manifested this.
If you see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. This is so true. You've got to grab this. You got to create dream boards. You got to put the new car up on your mirror. Put the weight you want to be on the refrigerator. If you can see it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. That's the law of attraction. That's what you bring to you. One way to heaven, no one way to paradise. It's like television. Now it's over 800 channels of cable, and they're all pretty entertaining. So I'm pretty sure, man, that to get to heaven, there's got to be more than one route. And because somebody watching another channel or taking another channel than you, they still getting entertained, and they probably still get his voice.
After a while, the drums, chants, and prayers representing many of the world's leading religions all started to sound alike, somehow losing their flavor in a melting pot of spiritual soup. The first ever Millennium World Peace Summit of religious and spiritual leaders took place at the United Nations in August, and some believe it marked the first major step toward a movement to usher in a global spiritual body that may one day speak for all religions. Robert McGinnis with the Family Research Council says it appears the hidden agenda is to unite people under one religious organization so they will peacefully accept UN goals such as population control, abortion rights, and one world government.
Instead of all these different gods, maybe there's one God who manifests himself and revealed himself in different ways to different people. You know, what about that, huh?
CNN founder and billionaire Ted Turner was the honorary chair of the World Religion Summit. Turner, known for his critical views on biblical Christianity, promoted the New Age concept that there are many ways to heaven.
The thing that disturbed me is that my religious Christian sect was very intolerant, not intolerant of religious freedom for other people, but they thought that we were the only ones going to heaven.
Supporters of a global religious voice have come down hard on evangelical Christians who refuse to adopt their New Age agenda.
Although until the UN, the Economic and Social Council, asked for this to be done, so we found out that in 1951, for the first time, we gave the world a population figure which was 2.5 billion people. But then, since the children didn't die so quickly anymore because of health and hygiene, then a population explosion became apparent, which was detected only in about the years 1960. So the UN made long-term projections and said to the world, look, you're going to be in deep trouble if you continue. So we had world population conferences that are big drums telling the people, take it easy. And as a result of this, now the estimates of the world population for the year 2000 have gone down from 7.3 billion to 6.1 billion. That's one of the great successes of the UN. Now, population is something which we have to be very careful of at this stage of human evolution, because the mushrooming of a population
in literature and writing books, yet was able to turn out 20 major books that are all still in print and are all still affecting people, that have become a ground and base for so much of the esoteric tradition in our time. Mrs. Bailey, as you know, started working in a Theosophical center on the West Coast. She had a mission, she had a calling, this wonderful interconnectedness that she believed so passionately.
You just experience pure consciousness.
Consciousness is all possibility. It is all potential.
Most people have experienced other dimensions and what have you, either in meditation or near-death experiences or just spontaneously. And it's sort of an awakening that happens in consciousness.
There's not going to be a second coming of Christ. The second coming of Christ is you. It's all of us. It is the awakening of the Christ principle in humanity. With this information comes the potential for what is called apotheosis. Human becomes God. And they have a variety of practices, very distinct practices, which are engineered to awaken your psychic center.
And any human being with this technique can open the door to that unbounded, infinite, divine being, light of God.
That is the experience of consciousness. Universal intelligence, universal consciousness. That field of unity that underlies and connects us all.
The true law is unity, that all is love, all is one, all is light. It doesn't have to be, my God is the only God. My God is the only right God.
Hindu, Muslim, Christian, they're just words that humanity has invented to keep each other apart. There is one divinity and we all share it.
We can be all that is, has been, and ever will be. We don't have to be a Christian.
Now we must transform, become enlightened, so that we can access the next realm of consciousness necessary.
That, like, my memories and my perception and my desires are just a conglomeration of biochemical impulses that I'm merely a conduit of pure consciousness.
This experience of God or cosmic consciousness is actually an experience of a higher form of consciousness towards which mankind is evolving at present. Just as man climbed from the state of an animal to that of a man, he has to take another leap to reach a higher dimension of consciousness where he can perceive the creative energies of the universe.
New age of Aquarius, and it's going to be an awakening for everyone again.
It's sort of an awakening that happens in consciousness.
And I think that there is more of an awakening.
This great awakening is just about to take place.
It is the awakening of the Christ principle in humanity.
You're expanding.
I was expanding in more of a positive direction.
Yeah.
There has been an
unexpectedly.
And when it first moved, it was so intense that I had convulsions, seizures, incredible neurological disorders, loss of memory, couldn't sleep. It was a really crazy experience. And it's funny because like when it was happening with me, people would see me and my body would be shaking or trembling, and I was experiencing absolute bliss. But when friends and family or whatever, I even went and saw doctors and neurologists, all kinds of stuff. People would look at me and they'd turn pale because they were like, oh my God, there's something really wrong with this guy, and nobody could figure it out. I knew what it was all along. But the Kundalini force in general can be quite powerful and create intense havoc for us. Some people get stuck like this, or their eyes roll back in their head, and that's helpful for a lot of people to kind of wake up the divine energy within us, open our channels, and help those energies to move. But Kundalini energy is just an amazing force. I found yoga to be extremely helpful, and some forms of yoga were helpful.
Just have to be completely dead.
Mystery schools, of which we will get into greater detail in our discussion of extraterrestrials, falls in line with the general New Age belief that Lucifer woke man up into an enlightened state of consciousness. He claims that the information in his book, Primordial Gnosis, The Forbidden Religion, was communicated to him through various dreams, during which he was under instruction by a spiritual master who called himself Lucifer. Aragon was compelled by the entity to state the following, quote, according to Gnostic legends and myths, the great unknowable God sent Lucifer, angel of indescribable fire.
From John's point of view, it meant that we needed a new vision of the incarnate self, and not have a perspective that diminished it in relationship to spirit or the transcendental. Given what the world is entering into and the kind of global challenges we're facing, we need to. But to be able to stand in the presence of such an entity and say, we are equal. We are both sacred beings. And because I know my sovereignty, my sacredness, my value in the life of the world, we can be part of the gift we bring. And out of that gift comes our ability to synthesize both worlds, to bring them into a new wholeness, to create alchemically what I like to think of as the new human, or the Gaian human, which I feel is critically needed in our time. If we really appreciate this nascent and developing spirituality, we want it to be a gift to our world. And within each of us is this radiant, this generative presence that we can give to our world. The objective is to get back, reunite, to achieve a consciousness of unity again, and so on. Whatever God is, it is within me. I am part of that as well.
To be aware that we are affecting our own evolution by everything that we do, the babies we eat.
Now, the reference to Lucifer comes from Blavatsky's description of Lucifer in the accurate sense of the term, which is of Latin origin. It means literally light bearer. So Lucifer, to Blavatsky, was one of the great sacrificial beings who descended to earth. That's where we get the idea of the fall of the angels. That was the descent of the solar angels to earth as an act of sacrifice on our behalf. And it refers to a very obscure principle in the ageless wisdom, which is that the solar angels, the governing lords of the world, descended to our planet eons ago, bringing the principle of mind to what was then, in those ancient times, essentially animal man. Human beings with no mentality at all, no soul, just virtually living the existence of an animal. And these solar angels brought the principle of mind. That's the connection with Lucifer, light bearer, bringing the light of mind to our world.
Yes, I have all of her works.
You have?
Yes.
Well, that's why, yes.
I think her best work was Isis Unveiled, Part 2, which is theology.
Right. Science.
And that was an exceptional work. I think that Helena Petrovna Blavatsky, the Russian mystic, was a very wise and perceptive lady, and she had some very profound knowledge, obviously, and her academic achievements were extraordinary, and so I have a very high respect for the work of Helena Blavatsky.
Of this world who are laughing at you and mocking you and placing you in a position of slavery. Why? Because you're stupid. You're ignorant, ill-informed, and you love the lies. You love the lies. So I'm not afraid of offending God.
Before we went live, I showed you my new shirt that I had made.
Yeah.
Manly P. Hall tee, which is a, you know what I'm saying, the man of mystery, great teacher. You were talking a little bit about how he left you some of his work and how you miss him and how he was a great mentor.
Yeah, he was a wonderful, wonderful man. So yeah, he was a wonderful man.
Our word demon comes from it, but it's not, it is a use that was made after it was assumed that all these pagan deities were devils. Actually, the demon was not an evil spirit, but a friend, a guide, and a counselor. And wherever Socrates was in danger or difficulty, his spirit came to him. The demon or guardian appeared, and he writes about it, discusses it, and tells of the examples of its presence.
Lucifer, what is your problem?
Just that, sir.
Okay.
I'm a Christian, sir.
I'm pure and virtuous and wholesome and innocent. How can you say anything bad about me?
Sir, you need to be born again.
I am born again.
Now, did you just say that you are Lucifer?
I am Lucifer.
Okay, define Lucifer for me.
Pure, virtuous, wholesome, innocent individual that's out to help people.
Lucifer is?
Yeah.
Say that again. Lucifer is a pure, holy...
Virtuous.
Virtuous. Now, is he the Lucifer that God created?
That's the same one.
Oh, man, this is great. I'm going to put this on the internet.
Oh,
Amen.
God bless you,
Amen.
brother.
Because that's exactly what the Shriners and Masons teach, is that Lucifer is light.
No.
And you're
what about
confirming
those hospitals?
You know what, sir? Jesus said, many will say to me on that day, Lord, Lord, we did not do these good deeds in your name? And you'll say, away from me, you workers of iniquity. I never knew you.
Jesus said it?
In Matthew chapter 5.
Mercy.
No.
That's hard to believe.
So you're a Christian and you don't know that? Actually,
no, I really am.
You are.
Because I'm pure and virtuous.
You're pure and virtuous, okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. In other words, you're perfect without Jesus, right?
No.
Okay, tell me about Jesus. Who is Jesus?
Well, he's my leader.
Is he the Son of God?
Yes, he is.
Is he the only worshipful master?
Yes.
Have you ever been called worshipful master?
No, because I've just been too busy. I've been working.
Working
to help people.
What
like
kind
you.
of work? Okay.
Get out of here.
See, this is what a Mason confesses, is that Lucifer is light. You heard it?
To Crowley.
Crowley.
To Crowley.
Crowley.
Crowley. Crowley. Crowley. Crowley.
Well, I've been an admirer of Aleister Crowley. I think that I'm carrying on much of the work that he started over 100 years ago, and I think the 60s themselves, he was in favor of finding your own self and do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law under love. It was a very powerful statement. I'm sorry he isn't around now to appreciate the glories that he started.
Well, I'm very much into philosophy. A lot of different philosophers that I've read over the years, like Nietzsche, Darwin, Freud, Aleister Crowley, and finally Anton LaVey. And fortunately, he's still alive, so I got to meet with him and talk about his ideas and things like that. And in America, Satanism is sensationalized and kind of misunderstood, and people associate it with worshiping the devil and things like that. But it's really a philosophy about individuality and self-preservation. It's about being your own God. And that's a lot of the things that I've agreed with, so that's why I became friends with him. But by no means is that the only idea that I associate myself with, because I incorporate a lot of different philosophies into what I'm about, including Christianity. There's a lot of valuable lessons to be learned from the Bible. I just feel that the way a lot of people interpret it, particularly in the USA, is very hypocritical, and that's what I try and open people's mind to, that there is different ways of looking at things rather than what we've been told over the past several hundred years. It was more of an honorary title, sort of because of all the work that I've done in music, he felt had a positive effect on what he was trying to say, so it was kind of a reward of sorts. But it's more of a friendship, it's not a role that I'm, obligated to portray or anything.
Before he became the world-famous shock rocker, Marilyn Manson took a little detour into religion. In 1994, the virtually unknown Marilyn Manson was on tour as the opening act for 9 Inch Nails. According to Manson's autobiography, on one stop in San Francisco, he was invited to the home of Anton LaVey, the world-famous Satanist, for a private meeting.
He was sincerely interested in the ideas that the Church of Satan promoted, not because he wanted to, worship a red guy with horns, but because he was interested in the idea of a church devoted to the exact opposite of Christianity.
Manson arrived at the LaVey homestead alone at 2 a.m. as requested. He was brought into the house by a spooky assistant and led to a meeting room where he claims LaVey simply appeared. The two spoke at great lengths about such stars as Jane Mansfield and Sammy Davis Jr., who LaVey claimed were followers of his. Anton LaVey was so impressed with Manson that he officially certified him as a minister in the Church of Satan.
Out that Satanist Marilyn Manson is a follower as conformed to the teachings of Aleister Crowley as well. In chapter 9 called The Rules, under his book called The Long Hard Road Out of Hell, he quotes Aleister Crowley's maxim, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law."
Earlier, do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law.
I'm basically a free thinker. Whatever anybody wants to do, they can do whatever they want as long as it doesn't hurt other people.
I live by myself, you know, I live by my own values and all that, morals. I set my own ways.
How do you determine what those morals and values?
I'm closer to the golden dawn, immersed in Crowley's uniform of imagery. Do what you will, make it fun. Hold up your lawn, burn down the faith that shadows light. We're gonna ride to the Abbey of the Lima, to the Abbey of the Lima. Do what the will should be the whole of the laws until your life.
I wrote about Aleister Crowley because in rock and roll, when at that point, I didn't know anything about Aleister Crowley. It kept coming up, this guy Crowley, and I read a little bit about him, and he was a pretty bizarre guy, I understand.
How do you feel about people who say Ozzy Osbourne's music sometimes is a sort of doorway to darkness? You know, it's down the slippery slope to the devil. You've heard about this?
Of course I have every day of my life. It's, I can't really take it in because in any form of like fan and rock star, you'll get your people who'll just take it for the face value, and you get a minority who'll take it for real. To be honest with you, really, I just take it as tongue-in-cheek. All I can say is that I am not into Satanism. I'm not a devil worshipper. I've never been involved in black magic personally at all. I wouldn't know how to. It takes me all my time to conjure myself out of bed in the morning and I conjure up the devil. It takes me all my time to conjure myself out of bed in the morning and I conjure up the devil.
What's happening? Another baptism. Bypass the black lip. I'm mashing across the masses. My movement massive. I'm low-key, like a locksmith, working on both knees. You nosy. Wiretap bands got fur where my toes be. I'm cozy. Act like you know me. Wicked as Aleister Crowley.
Yo. Sab Soul, Pastor Blacklip, TDE. I'm on hot new hip hop. I'm all about getting to the root of things, and Mr. Crowley has been instrumental throughout music for before I was born. You know what I mean? Led Zeppelin, Beatles. There's a lot of great artists that are the building blocks for even hip hop. So me understanding that, you know what I mean, and digging into his story and understanding why he's been so relevant and influential in music culture. I think it was important for me to reinstill that. If you didn't know that, if you missed that part, you know what I mean, if you missed that part of the culture of music in general, this beyond hip hop, but just music in general, he's had a big influence on the culture. At first sight, he's the wickedest man alive, right? That's what he's very wicked, man. But if you dig into the poetry and you read between the lines of his poetry and you dig into his story, a lot of the things will make more sense to you. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it made a lot of sense with me. A lot of the things that he discusses resonates with me. Well, I just want to leave you with this. My album is called Do What Thou Wilt, and it's based off. It's influenced by Crowley's The Book of the Law. Love, the Lima. Yeah. Love is the law. Love is the only law. Love under will. The law is for all. And if you read the Christian Bible, that's the only commandment that Jesus left. So also a great quote is the righteous will remain righteous and the filthy will remain filthy. So thinking along those lines, you know what I'm saying, and even do what thou wilt itself, free will is what it kind of sounds like, right? So all of the just me into theology and into history and these things, putting these parallels together, these different ideas, it's just great stuff, you know what I mean?
And say we run this town.
We are, yeah, I said it, we are. This is Rock Nation, pledge your allegiance. Get your petites on, all black everything. Black cars, all black.
The album is the third installment, the end of that trilogy of the Blueprint. The first Blueprint was out, my listening to soul samples and the things that shaped me, and this is me becoming those icons. So it's like my rise to the top, my run to that top of the mountain to put my flag and make my name, the same way that Marvin Gaye.
That's my word. I never read the Bible in my life. I don't even know how that. Oh my God.
Aleister Crowley, who died in 1947, was a hedonist, he was a black magician, he was a philosopher, he was a mountaineer, he was bisexual, he was a big drug taker, he was the original rock star, he was the first rock star, really ever. He influenced Timothy Leary, Aldous Huxley, Jimmy Page.
Jimmy Page bought his house.
Bought his house in Burlesque in Scotland, yeah. Didn't live there very much. Crowley used it for conjuring weird spirits and evil spirits and demons. The locals still don't go anywhere near it, and Pagey bought it and lived in it for a while. Lennon, popular with Lennon. Lennon insisted on Crowley being on the front cover of Sgt. Pepper. That was his idea. So he's in kind of good company here,
The dark side of Aquarius has robbed us of our souls and minds. Here comes the rain. 6, the number of the beast. Hell and fire was born to be released. Torches blazed and sacred chants were praised as they start to cry and held to the sky. In the night, the fires are burning bright. The ritual has begun. Satan's work is done. 666, the number of the beast. Sacrifice is going on tonight. Mr. Johnny, did you think you were pure?
In Crowley's oath, he declared, quote, I bind my blood in Satan's hands. All this that lieth betwixt my hands to thee, the beast, and thy control. I pledge me body, mind, and soul. Satan is using countless rock musicians to initiate the masses into Crowley's teaching. Led Zeppelin's leader, Jimmy Page, is also a fanatic follower of Aleister Crowley and his teachings. Page, who boasted hundreds of millions on the front cover of the Doors album 13 over a bust of Aleister Crowley. Morrison echoed Crowley's teaching of do what thou wilt, declaring, quote, there are no rules. Morrison stated, I'm interested in anything about revolt, disorder, chaos, especially activity that has no meaning. Here we see a picture of Jesus Christ with his disciples at the Last Supper, the night before he would die for the sins of the world. Below this, we see a picture of Jim Morrison and the other Doors hovering around the bust of Aleister Crowley. Apparently, they are conveying the idea that just as Jesus Christ has his disciples, Aleister Crowley has his own. Crowley's message did not only influence rock bands like Ozzy Osbourne, Merciful Fate, Led Zeppelin, and the Stones, but also punk rock.
Your involvement in the Golden Dawn?
Oh, my involvement in the Golden Dawn is in so much as I was very interested actually in Eastern and Western mysticism, and I spent time reading and researching when I was younger. Yeah, I guess that's it. There were some very eminent characters in the Golden Dawn, and I found it very interesting to see the history of those that had been in it, and this sort of esoteric movement, and also sort of what went on, the offshoots of it, of that sort of love of all things mystical and magical, all things bright and beautiful, really.
Do you think that's why people did that thing when they played Stairway to Heaven backwards and said that you were talking about Satan?
Yeah, well,
led the drug revolution in the 1960s as he handed out mescaline and LSD like it was candy to the youth. This in turn opened up the hippie youth of the West to the pagan demonic gods of the East, who were also promoted by Aleister Crowley. We can see here that Timothy Leary is under a painting which bears the number of the Antichrist, 666, who is prophesied to rule the world until he's destroyed by Christ at Armageddon. On a PBS interview, Timothy Leary let his hair down and admitted that he was carrying on Satanist Aleister.
Gunshot, gonna lick a boy.
The song states that it was 20 years ago today that Sgt. Pepper taught the band to play. The album came out in 1967. Crowley had died 20 years earlier in 1947, the year Leary claimed he passed on the baton to him to bring in the Satanic Revolution. This made Sgt. Pepper a likely reference to Aleister Crowley, the father of the new eon. John Lennon summed up the entire Beatle philosophy before his death by quoting Satanist Aleister Crowley. Lennon stated, "The whole Beatle idea was to do what you want."
Scorpio, which didn't surprise me, since I'm Scorpio rising.
He did begin to hang out to a degree, to as much as anyone does hang out with Kenneth Anger, and usually it's a kind of a short-lived hangout period, you know, because he was shy and outgoing at the same time. How do you do that? How do you do that? Obviously, a really imaginative person. I mean, his first words to me were, "You are Lucifer."
A demon is just a convenient way of labeling a force.
One of the Aquarian age was Lucifer to him, the bringer of light, which is kind of a personal thing for him because he saw himself as a filmmaker, as a bringer of light, communicating with light.
I've always felt comfortable with Lucifer. I have his name on my chest, but that preceded Bobby. It had nothing to do with Bobby. It was just it's my personal logo.
Naturally, there were, occult, satanic overtones, but he insisted from the very beginning, and I believe him and still do, that it's not really about, evil incarnate antithesis of Jesus Christ or any of that kind of stuff. It's not Judeo-Christian related at all, really. It's based on a mythology that's far earlier, and it resonated with me.
Crowley's subsequent career was indeed dogged by scandal and controversy, and a rather unsavory reputation grew up around him in the popular press. He is said to have finally completed the Abramelin ritual and to have contacted his holy guardian angel several years later, whilst traveling in Egypt.
Crowley did find his guardian angel, and he named him, the name that came to him, his intellect didn't name it, the name came, like you have something that appears in a vision or a dream. And it was I Was. The technical name for I Was is Lucifer, and what does Lucifer has nothing to do with the devil. Lucifer means, in Gnostic terms, before Christianity, Lucis Fero. It means...
You say, do what I will shall be the whole of the law. Every religious teacher in history has said that. Nobody mind. Yes, tell us what to do. Tell us what to do. Yes, Master, when we kiss your feet, Master. But if you say, do what thou wilt, what, you're giving me the responsibility? I can't take on that responsibility. You tell me what to do. I think people who were looking for... I've defined a disciple as an asshole looking for a human being to attach itself to. The Crowley system does not have any disciples. It doesn't tell you what to do. It tells you to decide for yourself what to do. I think it's the most libertarian philosophy to ever arise out of the mystical
Here's a picture of James Franco with Kenneth Anger and Brian Butler at the shoot. Franco said of Anger, he is a force, a fusion of art, pop culture, magic, and sex. He is the voyeur king. The following pictures are of Kenneth Anger and Brian Butler. In this picture, Anger and Butler can be seen holding Aleister Crowley's magic and theory in practice. And here they are together at an art showing of Kenneth Anger's. Brian Butler talked about magic and Crowley on the Lib TV with Harper Simon, son of Paul Simon.
Welcome to another episode of Talk Show. I'm Harper Simon, and today we're here with special guest, artist and filmmaker Brian Butler. Brian, thanks for coming on the show. Sure. Now, before we talk about your upcoming projects, I'd like to talk about your relationship with one of the legendary pioneers of underground cinema and experimental film, Kenneth Anger. How did you first meet Kenneth? And
Here's Butler holding one of Crowley's book open to the page featuring Lamb, the gray-headed alien Crowley encountered. In 2012, James Franco and Brian Butler were scheduled to perform Aleister Crowley's Bartzabel Working in Venice, California. The ritual was performed on a diagram drafted by Aleister Crowley. Here's a segment of the ritual with Brian Butler reading from the Bartzabel Working as written by Aleister Crowley.
Hail, 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 hail. Bartzabel, 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 Bartzabel. Come forth and manifest beyond the bars. Forth from the palace of seraphic stars. Come, O thou Bartzabel, the sprite of Mars. Come I and bind thee from the chains of hell. Come I and close thee in the invisible. To be my slave, thou spirit Bartzabel. By the spear, the sword, the spell, come unto me, Bartzabel.
Holy Kim, our vigor nerving, we have paid the priestly price. Hail Rahor, thy ray forth rolling, consecrate the instruments. Thine almighty power controlling, to the event, the day's events. Arm me in the fray that shall be fought this dreadful day.
And so that was a thrilling experience. And while I was doing it, the famous sexologist, Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey, came to visit me because he wanted to see these paintings. So there's a photograph of me with Dr. Kinsey in the house, which Crowley called the Abbey of Thelema, which means the will.
Whom you very early on started doing film as Curtis Harrington. With whom you started Creative Film Associates, went down to Sicily in 1955, and you actually visited the Telema Abbey, or you made also this documentary, which is unfortunately lost, another of all these films that, especially as Daniel pointed out yesterday already, we'd all be so interested in seeing. But this place was in the 20s a kind of occult commune.
Well, it was just a farmhouse that he did not own. He just leased it in 1920. And Crowley, it was the first commune of people living together who were artists. And maybe they were having sex parties too. It's possible. But of course they were, since they made a religion of eros, so it's frivolous to call them parties. Basically that's what it was. It was like putting a religious aura over sex, as sex is a kind of magical communion, which with good sex is what it is. All right. So keep trying. Crowley was had many enemies, and he was kicked out of in 1923 of Sicily, of Cefalù, which is a few miles from Palermo. Because he was English, and also they thought he was doing black magic, which did not make Mussolini too happy. And so Mussolini said, get rid of that crazy, evil Englishman. And so he was given his walking papers, and he had painted all of the walls of a leased house, which isn't a good idea because he never owned the house. This was like, so wonderful oil paintings of, like his bedroom is called La Chambre de Cauchemar, the room of nightmares. And the whole idea of the paintings was to show what nightmares were like. And for instance, on the edge of his bed, he had all these demons looking over the edge of the bed at what was going on in the bed. So he had a great sense of humor. But Mussolini had kicked him out, and then they had ordered the paintings all covered with whitewash. So I spent, in 1955, a whole summer very carefully scraping off the whitewash and using diluted acid to soften it up and then remove it. But under it were these beautiful oil paintings by Crowley. And so that was a thrilling experience. And while I was doing it, the famous sexologist, Dr. Alfred C. Kinsey, came to visit me because he wanted to see these paintings. So there's a photograph of me with Dr. Kinsey in the house, which Crowley called the Abbey of Thelema, which means the will, which was after Rabelais. He adored Rabelais. So.
And in closing, let's just consider whether the influence continues, the unprecedented influence that the Kinsey Institute has on the policy and standards of sex education, criminal punishment in the United States and around the world, and that Kinsey was directly influenced and had a tremendous affinity for Crowley, while a friendship with Satanist Kenneth Anger, for whom the Kinsey Institute to this day still operates and exhibit in honor of Kenneth Anger. And we should not be surprised to see some of the usual players involved, in that the Rockefeller Foundation was heavily involved in
Who would build a statue to Satan? Well, turns out a group of atheists wants to do exactly that. Shannon Sims is covering the controversy for us tonight. Shannon?
Well, Mike, the statue would be built in Oklahoma City, but there are some people here in Milwaukee who are raising money and awareness for the cause. I spoke with one of them tonight. Lucifer, the Prince of Darkness, is an image that many Satanists revere. The Satanic Temple, based in New York, now wants to build a 7-foot monument of Satan outside the state capitol building in Oklahoma City.
Have the throne where children can sit on and get their picture taken with it.
Brian Warner, who claims to be a satanic high priest living in Milwaukee, says the statue would be built next to an existing monument of the 10 Commandments.
The right-wing religious majority think that they have the right to impose their belief system on everybody. The fact of the matter is, this is not a Christian country. This is a multiculturalistic society that thrives itself on plurality.
And Warner says raising the $20,000 needed has not been an issue.
And we had somebody give $1,000.
But there's division within the satanic movement. A post on the Church of Satan website denounced the monument, saying it would make a mockery of Satanism. But that's not stopping the group from forging ahead, even though their plan may be challenged in court.
It could even potentially get pushed to the point of the Supreme Court, which I would love to see happen, because in my opinion, freedom of religion still means any religion. It doesn't say freedom of religion as long as it's a sect of Christianity.
The Satanic Temple, based in New York, says that they are now waiting for the green light from the Historical Preservation Society in Oklahoma City to move forward with their plan. Reporting live in Milwaukee, Shannon Sims, today's TMJ4.
All right, thank you, Shannon.
Comrades, hail sisters and brothers, and hail Satan. We are gathered here to celebrate the spirit of humanity in the dawn of a new American era. In a season when many commemorate the birth of Christ, we commemorate our own Genesis, the enlightenment of all humanity, a revelation of our nature as written in the annals of history, a gift from Lucifer, the light bringer, the morning star, and the rebel. We are Satanists. We engender moral, spiritual, and sexual freedom, personal independence, and insist upon personal choice in all things. We care for the significance of the individual spirit and personal moral responsibility. If you stand here today and embrace your nature, are free-thinking, self-governed, and godless, you too are a Satanist in the eyes of many in your own community, including those who represent you in your governments. But we are also Americans, a nation born of men and women seeking asylum from a majority religious group in control of political power who punish those who oppose them. In the words of Thomas Jefferson, Our civil rights have no dependence on our religious opinions any more than the opinions in physics or geometry.
need a shot of it.
So beautiful. That's so fucking dope.
Nearly 4 months now after crews had reinstalled the Ten Commandments monument on the Capitol grounds, the Satanic Temple came back with their own statue.
The groups rally for the First Amendment brought Satanists, Christians, even the KKK to the Capitol steps. Scarecrow Jess join us now live with the message in all of this. Jess?
Yeah, Bob and Ashley, while some were there to protest today, different beliefs mostly came together to say all or none. If the Ten Commandments get to sit on Capitol grounds, so do the statues of their representative religions. Now, the tone did remain respectful. Groups who came up to speak from all different backgrounds were even thanking each other for showing up, except when a Satanist wasn't happy with what a Christian minister was preaching.
I love you too.
Demons in hell! You're a liar! You're a fake! You're a phony!
So you could hear the crowd obviously was not pleased with what he was saying and did support law enforcement escorting the man out. The Baphomet statue sat in the center of the rally, but comments about the lawmaker who spearheaded the push to bring the Ten Commandments to the Capitol took center stage.
Senator Rapert will tell you that our monument is an attack upon Christianity. But then Senator Rapert also once described a gay pride parade as one of the most offensive displays against Christians in an attempt to intimidate people who believe in the Word of God.
It's all about the fake. It's all about the slur. It's all about the slander from these people. They're not serious, and they're not even real.
Hail Satan!
Rapert reiterates how Lucian Greaves, who you just heard from, isn't the man's real name. Rapert says the Christian minister, who you just saw too, has also not identified as a preacher before and was actually planning to run for office against him. The Satanic Temple is now seeking a court order to require the state to install the Baphomet statue on Capitol grounds. Live at the state capitol, I'm Jesse Tenor.
They believe. What you're now looking at on the screen
is a man by the name of Aleister Crowley. He was born in England in 1875 into a Plymouth Brethren family. His father, as a matter of fact, was a Plymouth Brethren minister of the gospel. His mother was a very fine Christian. But when he was very young, he rebelled against the teaching of his mother and his father and embraced the religions of the dark side, as he chose to call it. He went to the library and checked out books, studied until he became very proficient. His mother, when he was very young, because of his bizarre lifestyle, started calling him the Beast, and that nickname, the Beast, followed him for the rest of his life. But then he became a leader in the occult that was known as the OTO and the Order of the Golden Dawn in England. He is a priest here in this picture performing a ritual. He began writing books as the leader of this particular cult. He began writing books, and one of the most famous books he wrote was Magic, M-A-G-I-C-K, spelled with a K, in theory and in practice, which became a bestseller all over Europe. This book became sort of a guidebook or a primer for occult belief and practices all over Europe. Now, in 1945, I believe it was, he came to the United States of America and brought this book with him, and it became a bestseller in America. The man died a raving maniac, not even able to pronounce his own name, in 1947. But what you need to understand is the writings in this book lived on. They had a profound, penetrating effect on the occult movement in the United States of America. The book you're looking at, with all of its markings in it and all of its notes in it, belonged to this young man. Berkowitz, the son of Sam Killer. When he was captured by the police after his crime spree, he admitted that he was a disciple of Aleister Crowley and said himself that his philosophy was do what thou wilt, for this is the whole purpose of man. And he committed his crimes based upon the Crowley philosophy. Over his bed, when he was finally arrested, he had taken the occult symbols, some of the occult symbols, out of Aleister Crowley's writings and made them into a collage, and adopted even some of the names that were associated with the writings of Aleister Crowley, and put them around the collage so that it would be a constant reminder of his identification with the occult. So Aleister Crowley died, but his writings did not die. Something very interesting, in 1967, April the 30th, 1967, in a house in San Francisco, California, a man by the name of Anton LaVey, who was a disciple of Aleister Crowley, established what is known as the First Church of Satan. Now, up until that time, there had never been an organized Church of Satan. But this man, and tell you just a little bit about his background, when he began the First Church of Satan, he was actually a police photographer, rather brilliant in his field, but he had studied the occult and had studied many of the writings of Aleister Crowley, and he incorporated them into a Church of Satan. This is their seal. The seal of the Church of Satan is an upside-down star. Now remember, in the Bible there was a star that marked the birthplace of Christ. So this is a mockery of that star. It is upside down, and inside of that star, upside down star, is a goat head. The horns and the whiskers and the chin. In the circle, in the outer circle, there are occult markings. But this is the church seal. This is not a pentagram, but the seal of the Church of Satan. This is the high priest himself with a coffin to the left, where he is actually performing a ritual, or rather presiding over a ritual. This is an interesting picture of Mr. LaVey, who is on a lecture tour. You notice he has on a clerical collar around his neck. Of course, the red that you see is the seal of the Church of Satan, but the clerical collar. Now, why in the world would this man wear a clerical collar if he is a priest, a high priest of the Church of Satan? Very simple. Universally, the clerical collar has come to mean to the public a man who speaks for God. Therefore, whenever he puts on this clerical collar, it has a disarming effect. And he becomes more acceptable to a vulnerable public who is looking for something they don't know what they're looking for, and he can easily sweep them into his belief system and into his first church of Satan. These are some of his priests, and if you will notice in this particular slide, they have on the animal heads. But what you young person who was raised in a church of Satan, mother and dad were Satanists, and now this is a generational initiation rite in the church of Satan. They perform weddings, they perform funerals, and they have some very sophisticated and very bizarre sex rituals that they are involved in. Many of their rituals are done in the nude. What you're looking at right now happens to be a ritual that is being performed by a group of Satanists who have adopted some of the Egyptian or Eastern mysticism belief system. They have adopted it into their belief system, and they're kneeling in front of an altar, reading out of a ritual book, preparing to observe some type of an occult ritual. Whenever a very sophisticated ritual is performed, like the one you're looking at on the screen now, there are two circles which reflect sophistication. The five-pointed upside-down star. There will be a candle placed on each corner of each point of the star. The initiate will stretch himself out, spread eagle in the middle of the star. And if you will observe carefully, his body is spread eagle so that his arms and his legs and his head actually form the shape of that star. In doing so, his body then becomes an altar. The members of the occult group of the Church of Satan will stand around the outside of the circle and sprinkle blood, throw blood on his body, and it will be both animal and human blood. This was taken as a result of an occult-related crime investigation where some drug peddlers were involved in the occult, and as you can see, the circle with the star and with the candles on each point of two of the points of the star. This is they indulge in sex rituals in the nude that are very bizarre, but probably one of the most unusual rituals is done in a graveyard, often by young people. This is an initiate, a young person being initiated into a church. Shrouded in white, quarters over the eyes are sealed with wax, and what you're seeing on the screen during this seminar is designed to help protect you and to protect your children.
In the name of Satan, the ruler of the earth, the king of the world, I command the forces of darkness to bestow their infernal power upon me. Open wide the gates of hell.
In Pasadena, Texas, Gloria Satania Nasatanata is about to give herself to the devil. She's being baptized into the Church of Satan.
I wanted to because I love Satan and because I want to do his will.
Cast off that white robe of lies and comfort.
What you are now viewing is not a Hollywood scene. This is a real ritual that is performed by an occult group in California that believe they found the secret to life and the secret to death by eating the dead. This is a very bizarre, a very cold-blooded ritual. But it is happening. Scenes like this are happening all over the United States of America. And it's doing a great deal of damage, not only physical damage, but it's doing a great deal of mental and emotional damage. And I'm going to get into that and the emotional damage that is done to these young people a little bit later. But these are some of the sacrificial rituals and rites that some of these bizarre groups go through, and they bond them to their leader.
Another woman was forced to swear allegiance to Satan as Ramirez beat and raped her.
while yet another elderly lady had a pentagram carved on her thigh. Ramirez arrogantly brandished secret satanic symbols to the press. He flashed a two-fingered devil sign to news reporters, prominently greeted the courtroom with "Hail Satan," and conspicuously waved the pentagram drawn on his palm.
You don't understand me. You are not expected to. You are not capable of it. I am beyond your experience. I am beyond good and evil. I will be avenged. Lucifer dwells within us all. That's it.
Today, Satanism can be seen to be more blatant than ever before. Satanic graffiti is no longer shocking, while recruiting, which was once hidden and
affluent families.
I've noticed that these kids are bored with society, they're bored with school, they're bored with some of the churches that are out there.
I have young people calling me regularly, telling me that they have been involved in some sort of animal mutilation sacrifice. And the reason why they say that they go out to these animal mutilation sacrifices is because they're provided with vodka or drugs, cocaine, or free sex. And they don't particularly like, as this one girl said to me, I don't really like to hear the squealing animals in the cemeteries when they do their rituals, but they give me free vodka.
Repeatedly you'll see the drug usage being used. Sometimes the high priest or the high priestess won't use drugs because they may not be able to have that mental, spiritual control over the people that are in the actual coven, but they will then give it to their members.
And so to cover up what I'd seen and what I'd been taking part in, I started taking drugs, which they provided. So that was another reason for staying at the coven. They were providing me heroin.
The old proverb warning against wine, women and song has taken on new spiritual momentum. Sex, drugs and rock and roll is the modern cry of a rebellious youth. Satanist Aleister Crowley has indirectly influenced many leading rock groups, including the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin and Ozzy Osbourne, who even wrote a song about Crowley. Today's music industry commercializes satanic themes without concern for the souls they seduce. Even those bands who promote hardcore Satanism deny that they are Satanists, but admit that Satanism sells and that they are simply giving their fans what they want to hear. Many bands get their ideas from horror films and videos, which explicitly depict satanic rituals, death, murder, and cruel tortures. Evidence shows music laced with satanic overtones has played an important role in the lives of many of the teenagers who have been convicted of satanic killings. Night Stalker Richard Ramirez, obsessed with the music of the rock group AC/DC, admitted in 1966 Anton LaVey founded the first Church of Satan in San Francisco, which at one point claimed 10,000 members. LaVey authored the Satanic Bible and Satanic Rituals, two of Satanism's most important books. Astonishingly, when the Satanic Bible was first published, it outsold the Holy Bible 2-to-1 in many parts of America and 10-to-1 on some college campuses. It teaches tenets that are totally opposed to goodness, purity, and selfless behavior.
All religions are coming around to Satanism. We're in the very throes of a new satanic age. The evidence is all around us. All we have to do is look at it.
Shemham Parash. Shemham Parash. Hail Satan. Hail Satan.
To the Satanist, they stood and they were worshipping the devil. There were effigies of Satan, half man and half beast, around the walls. There was a high altar, and on the altar there were cups and knives. The chief Satanist sat on a throne-like seat. He was robed and hooded. Around him, in a semicircle, stood some 13 priests and priestesses. Of course, you were told, not to say anything to anybody, because it was the keynote of the movement was secrecy. And little wonder when you knew what went on in there.
In Satanism, sex is not only used to lure new recruits, but in a ritual context, sex is also believed to be an important method of inducing power.
In the sex ritual, it can be
Englishman Aleister Crowley, a leading inspiration in today's revival of Satanism, was a bisexual heroin addict and demonologist who was violently opposed to Christianity. In his book Magic, he detailed the proper procedure for performing a child sacrifice. Crowley's powerful influence is seen in such groups as the OTO, Ordo Templi Orientis, and Colonel Michael Aquino's Temple of Set, an offshoot from the Church of Satan.
The devil worshiping follows along the teachings of Aleister Crowley, which is do what thou wilt, shall be the whole of the law. And you break all that down, all that means is to do whatever you want to do. They cater to your needs to get you. From a religion is, I don't investigate the religion. It's the crime I investigate.
There are no statistics to prove anywhere in the United States of America or the world that this stuff is widespread. But it's my opinion that it's more widespread than you can shake a stick at.
Satanism in the United Kingdom is on the increase.
Christmas and Easter, and when they do it on those days, simply to blaspheme the Christian faith.
In many satanic groups, a mother will be asked to sacrifice her own child to Satan, and she may even, in fact, be ritually impregnated to do that. She may even specifically have been impregnated, and then when the child...
Good is evil.
Shalom, Yasharal. Anyway, I wanted to say, hey, scriptures say we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against the principalities and the root of darkness of this world, and a world that you can't see. You know what I'm saying? And man, these are the people, man, that are controlling your world, man. You know? This is where your celebrities like Jay-Z, you know, Beyonce, Rihanna, this is what they sell out to, man, because they look up to, you know, Aleister Crowley's teachings, you know, do as thou wilt, you know. But I just wanted to show this to y'all, man, and you know what I'm saying? It's time to wake up, man, and know who your enemy is, man. All right, and these things do exist, man. All right, it absolutely exists, man. These Satanists and what they practice, man, they exist, man. But anyway, man, I just wanted to say, wake up, man. Wake up. Share this video, please. Share it on BitChute, Odyssey, Rumble. Please. Get this truth out. All right, I'm out.
Any election in Mexico. You know, these days.
I think you had any books. Well, I mean, you got some, right?
Oh, Allison.
No, he's been doing some now, but this guy, there's a few. Is it him or no? There's another guy. It's like part-time. They got a book on Aleister Crowley. This guy, man. That's public. Yeah, but he like zooms in. So you're rather over-explain. Because I have a tendency to under-explain, and then people are like, what are you talking about? what I'm going to do right now is cut all of these by 2. Okay. And I always cut it at the very bottom so that there's plenty, so that for the tape to go on. The tape, yep. And so I'm going to start chopping at the top, like the highest number, so then as I build them up, the lowest number will be on top. Okay. And then we'll go through back and put the stars on. Okay. All of his videos are zoomed in on someone's face from our YouTube channel. That's it. And he's getting paid like a part-time salary from some other state doing it remote. And it's like, I can see the work. I sat in a meeting with him and Jess one time when they wanted me to do some social media stuff that I never ended up doing. But he's like, it's like, yeah, I've got the analytics from all of our social media and it shows this. I'm like, dude, Facebook.
Yeah, that's like a little courtyard. It's, the bamboo was planted in 1962 by one of our members long ago. So it's just a little courtyard. And too cold, and there's specific colors. So when you leave, you can walk out to that way. We have a library in the back.
listening to the Classical King Christmas Channel on KING FM HD3 Seattle and streaming worldwide at King.
Oh, Louise Hay. Yeah, you know, I never, we usually have that, but I know I sold a copy a few days ago. I'm not sure if it came back.
There go to Rich.
Thank you. Have a great day. Thank you.
Not like you're not getting any type of certification degrees, but there's all kinds of things that, like people study, usually groups usually too, it's like that's what they're doing, they're together and kind of just either reading or discussing, all kinds of things. Our thing is kind of like everyone has their own path. There's different things that classes they teach, but just trying to respect the diversity of, people's spiritual belief systems. And that's kind of
Good afternoon.
Oh, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Have you been to California?
Yeah, I've been to California before.
Yeah, which area?
North,
middle, south. It's kind of long.
LA.
LA. Okay, very good. The busy spot.
It's pretty.
Yeah, this is
pretty
really
neat.
cool.
Yeah.
Have you been before?
Yeah,
Yeah. First time, great. We're a level 1 arboretum as well, so we have 50 identified trees on the grounds.
Okay.
And then back here is Sustained Page manages the garden back here, and it's really nice. And then over here is the labyrinth further back.
Oh, this is all in the back.
Yeah, but
Okay.
I'll grab you a little map. So
So you mean like when you come
through
out?
this back door here.
Excuse me, sir. Is it? There's also your moon sign. You just go to astro.com for free and okay.
Quick shot, Mr. Jason. Hey. Thank you very much. So you're at 113.40. If you're ever interested in joining the savings club, it's $25 for the first year. You'll get 10% off the store. Okay. So it wouldn't pay to drop off today, you do it halfway there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead.
Okay. What's your first name? And your last? Can I get Look at that, people. Look at that. That demon. Look at this, people. Harassment. Yeah, there was oops. Okay, so we'll just tag everything, and when those are the last two, we'll figure that out. I'd rather over-explain, because I have a tendency to under-explain, and then people are like, what are you talking about?
listening to the Classical King Christmas channel on KING FM HD3 Seattle and streaming worldwide at King.
There's a, yeah, there's like a little courtyard. It's, you know, the bamboo was planted in 1962 by one of our members long ago. So it's a, yeah, it's just a little courtyard. And you know, too cold, and there's a bed specific clothes. But when you leave, you can walk out in that way. We have a library in the back.
Yep.
But so if there's a mistake, there's one that didn't get the price change. Okay. But don't think about it too much because I might just be overthinking.
Worst case scenario, if we sell it, if it says on the old statute $36 and we're already up to 38,
This guy messaged me. It's almost too much. Basically, he's got a lot of tech and social media and all that kind of abilities. So I sent him the page. He reached out to me first, but I can't. should I wait for the package?
Well, right.
Or just resend it?
Honestly, probably we should resend it. Unless I go back. How about in the morning resend it?
I can resend it tomorrow.
And then by then maybe we'll.
Yeah. So should I wait for the package?
Well, right.
Or just resend it?
Honestly, probably we should resend it. Unless I go back. How about in the morning resend it?
I can resend it tomorrow.
And then by then maybe we'll.
1760.
I'm gonna go out. I promise. I'm sorry. I'm gonna just look at manly PR on this if we get out. Please, mama. It'll be quick. Okay.
Oh.
That sun is coming at me.
Yeah, that sun is killing.
It'll mess your picture up.
Yeah. Y'all see that, man? Shit. 33.
Is that a monk? Is it the statue?
Yep. Got that bird too. Yeah.
You taking a video of this thing?
Yep. Ooh, that is.
Had all the African Americans.
This sucker is huge, boy. The 33, everything. Shit. Some boy. Well, man, got the 33, the Eagle. We all know this was all staged, man, you know what I'm saying? They used to have that Pike statue, you know what I'm saying? But all they got left, man, is that 33, you know what I'm saying? Order out of chaos, man, because very soon, this devil about to push this new world order very soon. You know what I'm saying? Shit. What's that? Yeah, that's pretty much it. Fuck.
Rolled it up. This is the 1930s. Rolled it up, brought it here on the train. So this is up like walking. Really? So,
We're each on a unique spiritual path. While our paths may differ on the surface, there are truths and values we all share. Truths that transcend our religions, philosophies, and traditions. Values that support an open and connected community. At the Theosophical Society in America, we seek with open minds, respect the unity of all life, transform through inner awareness. Since 1875, we have not wavered in our mission to uplift the consciousness of humanity. Today, we're working harder than ever to uphold these sacred values by offering resources that span all spiritual paths. Explore rich and diverse online and in-person programs. Browse hundreds of videos on our YouTube channel. Utilize our world-class spiritual library. Discover all the ways you can nurture your spiritual growth. Transform yourself. Transform our world.
Yeah.